In this one, we're at Dubsesd Garage, and we're going to check out one of the best looking F80 M3s ever. So we're here with Dubsesd, a.k.a. Lukasz Novaki. You know, you start with Dubsesd, you know, people don't really know his real name.
No, it's posted on the Instagram page, so
oh,
yeah.
Okay. You know, I didn't really know what your first name was for a long time. I was like, that's Dubsesd.
It's true, actually. A lot of people, if you live in, well, if you're involved in the car world, forums, especially back in the day, people knew you by your username, right? That's kind of who they knew.
So speaking of names, you know, maybe we can go back to understanding what made this name. Where did it come from?
Yeah, so, you know, I've been asked that question so many times, and it's actually back in my Volkswagen days when I had a Volkswagen Jetta. And then, you know, that's the first car that I started kind of heavily modifying, and coming up with the username for forums was kind of like, okay, what should I call? Like, what should I make my account? Mm-hmm. And basically it's, you know, a short reference to Volkswagens are Dub cars, and then the obsession with the Dub cars, so Dubsesd, and it kind of formed its own entity. And now it's kind of like its own brand, right?
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, you have a pretty massive Instagram following as well, right?
Yeah.
So what was the next car from the VW?
So I had numerous cars in between as dailies and stuff, like Lexuses and E90s, but my next hobby car was the E86 Z4 M Coupe, and that was that car I really enjoyed. It was also pretty heavily modified. I just had to let it go simply because I had kids, right? And I didn't have to let it go, but you know, 2 doors, seldom used. The convenience of a back seat was critical at that point, because that's when I got to use the car.
Yeah.
So I decided to just sell the car and buy something more convenient, you know, and actually it worked out really well because I had another child. Yeah, 5 years later, so
no way
and I'm still using it. I'm still using it, right? So
that's an epic jump from a Z4M to the F80 M3.
Yeah,
it's probably a good choice in my books.
Yeah.
I had the E85 Z4,
yeah,
the 3.0,
yeah,
SI or whatever it was, and that was a beautiful car to drive. I remember the first time I met you, it was in that Z4M.
That's right.
The BMW meets
Yeah.
and the other car.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool. And then next year, I see you with a whole new car. I'm like, whoa, where did this come from?
Yeah, it was a great car. It just, it drove kind of opposite of what this drives like. Mm-hmm. It was naturally aspirated. You sat really far back on the rear wheels. So it was 2-seater.
People called it the shoe.
The shoe, the clown shoe, right? That was more so the Z3, but it kind of did kind of get the reference in Z4 body too. But it was a great car. I had my time with it, and then it was time to kind of let it go, right?
Yeah. Move on to something else. You sold it over the winter.
I sold it over the winter, and I bought that a month later after I sold it.
And then literally 2 days later, parts arrived.
Parts arrived, yes. There was boxes of coilovers and wheels and other random parts for the car, license plates.
The mod bug in you is very contagious.
Yes,
I'd say.
Yeah.
Everyone around you just seems to be just modding cars.
You're a great actually witness to that.
I fell into it. I got bit hard.
Yeah.
And then my wife is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But did you put HREs on it right away?
First kind of version of the car was on HRE P101s. It was modified within 2 days of ownership. So I got it. The next morning I brought it to the shop. We did KWV3s, P101s, carbon side skirts, rear diffuser. So like all the essentials kind of to make it look how it's supposed to look. And then I had that set up for about 1.5 years or so, with small changes in between. And then it's after that when I started going through wheels, different wheels.
It's literally shoes for the car.
Shoes,
really.
yeah, shoes. And then obviously like, lips, that interior parts, and until it got excessive in the last kind of 2 years where
Like, what do I
there's
do
interior
next?
seats, carbon this, and like numerous exhaust parts.
Well, there's a plateau to modding as well, right? You mod the car so much, and then to a point where you're like, okay, what do I do next?
Yeah.
You could go bonkers.
Yeah.
You've seen what Terry's M3.
You have to limit yourself depending on what you want the car to be, right? So my vision for the car was always kind of an OEM plus build. So although it's had a lot of work done on the inside and outside, a lot of the mods, if you didn't know what the car was, you'd argue it was kind of OEM. So that's kind of really my goal for the car, right?
So like, in terms of the mods, you've done the wheels, suspension, exhaust. You've gone through a number of exhaust systems, right?
Yeah, it was three different versions. And this is now I just installed the recent inked custom equal length system.
It sounds amazing.
And it sounds really, really good. Yeah. So. And obviously a lot of interior bits, a lot of engine parts.
I'd say the seats are the biggest transformation for the inside, eh?
It is, yeah. The seats, AMX Performance seats, custom upholster to my liking, and rear seats to match. So I had the rear seats embroidered in the same kind of stuff as the front.
Not many people do rear seats like that.
No, many people just do the fronts and kind of like call it quits, right? But it's, and that's what I did initially. And after a year of opening the doors and driving the car and everything else, it just kind of bothered me that the back was full leather and different pattern than the fronts.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I gotta change this,
This is what OCD does to people,
It doesn't work, yeah.
How did you come about to become like the wheel master?
It's, I could visualize a lot of things, right? But it comes down to the numbers at the end, right? So, I mean, you always take a stock wheel as a basis, but offsets aren't really everything. It comes down to tires as well. So. And that's what a lot of people don't really understand. You can't really make the wheel flush if the tire is going to be protruding or rubbing after, right? So sometimes it's trial and error. You order a set, it's a little more conservative, and you push the boundaries, right? So I've had 10 sets of HRA wheels, and the past 5 have been pretty much consistent specs because I know what the max offsets are with the widths and tires. But the first 2 sets, they were a bit trial and error. They fit well, but I pushed them further and further, added 3 mil spacers, 5 mil spacers, see what I could do. Played with the lip sizes, with the faces, and you kind of, because it can look good standing still, but it has to drive, right? And the key is like my car, I drive my car, and I don't want to hear any rubbing, but I want it to look good. So it has to be functional. Otherwise, what's the point of having the nice fitment?
I completely agree. I mean, that leads us into the next point is, with this car, I mean, you've got other cars. You don't leave any of your cars stock. What about the M3? What are the 3 things about the M3 that make it so special for you?
Number 1 is probably the paint. I spec'd the car individual because I wanted something different. So the paint is definitely, and I get comments on the paint all the time because it's so much different. It flops blue, teal, kind of, right? So the paint's number 1. Carbon ceramics, probably one of the best, not mods, but options I chose on the car. Not only for the performance or the braking or the bite, but really for no dust, I know many people can relate. They have steel brakes, and we go on a cruise somewhere. You stop 3-4 times really hard somewhere on a drive. The wheels are black, and then you're stopping for photos somewhere or for lunch, and you're looking at your car, and it doesn't look so great.
I used to be anti-ceramic brakes mainly because I wanted to save on the cost, right? I didn't care about the cleanliness aspect of it. I could clean up after and all that. But after having ceramic brakes, I'm like, it doesn't seem like I can go back because
it's hard.
It's so tedious to try and keep the car looking clean all the time, and that's the only way to go in.
And the first thing to get dirty on a car in the summer are the wheels, right? Because that's the front wheels especially. They're brown and black, and the car's clean, and then what do? You wash the car all over again if the wheels are dirty. So that was a big mod for me, or a big option for me on the car. And obviously the gearbox. I wanted a manual, so I wanted to keep it kind of like engaged.
You don't have to be, you know, going to the track or going super crazy speeds to enjoy the car.
No,
even at low RPMs, you can enjoy it. You're engaged, shifting gears.
That's right.
Your left leg.
Street driving is satisfying. Yeah.
Something I miss with the GT3 RS right now. Yeah. Which one of these would you say is your forever car? I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Well, out of the three, probably the M3 is my forever car, and you know, nothing's really forever in my books. Everything has a price on it, really, at the end of the day. But you know, looking at how much work went into the car and how special it is to me, I would rather add a car to the stable than trade one in for something else, because I know that down the road, whether the new car is better in a lot of ways, I would still regret selling a car like this. So ultimately, I think that's the forever car, and something is going to come up and not replace, but
add to the garage.
You know, add to the garage.
Speaking of which, then, what would be the next addition?
GT3 manual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No other way.
No, there's nothing else really like that tickles me, right? I want a sports car. I want a manual.
Yeah. What generation would you say of the 911 GT3?
Really, I mean, it all comes down to, you know, value and pricing at the end of the day. But the last generation was really, really nice. It was great. Nice car.
Yeah.
992s are obviously, you know, impossible to buy right now. We have an allocation for a touring, and who knows when it's going to come, if it's going to come. So that's kind of undecided, right? We'll see what happens.
I mean, if something nice comes along in the GT3 side of things, 991.2.
Exactly.
Or the 992, magically they say, hey, here's an allocation.
Yeah.
You jump on it.
The key is the spec.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm a sucker for spec, so it has to be a good spec.
Yeah, and you keep your cars a long time. It's not like you buy the car 1 year later, you flip it.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, definitely manuals, PCCBs, leather interior.
Exactly.
All those things. Yeah.
The essentials.
Yeah.
It's a good starting point for modifying after, right?
So then this 3-car garage bay will be complete. You've got the X5, the M3, and the GT3 manual.
Exactly. That'd be the goal, right? Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on and doing this with me.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been fun. I learn a lot from him as well in terms of what not to do and what to do with the cars. GTS is one
trial and error. It's trial and error.
You know, the trial and error in this space is so expensive.
Yeah.
The GTS was, that was a trial and error mistake that led to me getting rid of the car, which I now regret. But hey, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Anyways, well, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoy this one with Dubsesd, a.k.a. Lukasz. I should say the other way around. Lukasz, a.k.a. Dubsesd.
Yeah.
And if you all enjoyed it, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Cheers.